Keeping cities safe is a 24-hour job for law enforcement.
And one NOPD detective says even when he's off the clock, he's still focused on making the city a better place for everyone. In a special report, Canvas of Controversy, Liz Reyes shows how he hopes his cutting-edge art will help reduce crime on the streets.
At work,
so one of the things that I try and do for
NOPD detective Charlie Hoffaker works with a team of investigators tackling high-profile city crimes. He and his team have a front row seat to New Orleans' gory, violent side. But away from work,
I could literally paint all day, easily.
He works in solitude, channeling stress from work into art. With each stroke of his paintbrush, he creates thought-provoking art pieces on the social ills of New Orleans he sees daily on his job. His goal? Spur dialogue to help reduce resolutions to the city's problems.
In my opinion, we need to get mad about violence in our streets. We need to get passionate about it and start dealing with it in different ways.
His art tackles controversial subjects, but with unconventional artistic methods. Take this commentary on the tragedy of the young lives lost to New Orleans' violent crimes. He took their social media posted pictures, but recreated them using gunpowder, brass, and copper. Then there are the series of paintings of AK-47s. It's a weapon of choice in some New Orleans killings, except here, they're strung with signature Mardi Gras beads. It's his artistic commentary on the duality of New Orleans, a culture of violence alongside a culture of celebration.
We have a very unique culture here, and it poses a unique set of problems. The idea for me is to make people think about social issues, specifically in New Orleans. Forgetting about it and moving on and just having a beer and crawfish is not going to fix violence on our streets or the education problem or, some of the economic problems that our city's facing.
Another piece, his mugshot portrait of convicted New Orleans murderer and gang leader Telly Hankton. Keeping with his cutting-edge approach, he composed the work using symbolic elements associated with Hankton's criminal history. It took more than 14,000 bullet casings to create this mosaic.
Telly Hankton chose to use the medium of violence, and bullet casings being a byproduct of that violence.
Here in the French Quarter, locals and visitors to the city also have an opportunity to check out Charlie's art pieces. This is a graphite gallery, and right now on display, one of his most provocative creations, the AK-47 with the Mardi Gras beads.
The gallery's owner describes them as beautiful and controversial. He says they trigger conversations on important issues he wants tourists to think about while here.
I want them to understand New Orleans maybe at a deeper level than just Bourbon Street and crooked houses.
In Mid-City at the Treo Bar and Gallery, two of his art pieces are prominently displayed. Some customers say his art embodies a contradictory nature of New Orleans.
I do think of New Orleans, the Mardi Gras beads hanging from an AK-47, which unfortunately associated with gun violence in New Orleans.
I think they need more art like that to make some of the leaders of the city face the fact of what's going on and get them to do something about it.
Back at his studio, his newest works, a portrait of NOPD officer Natasha Hunter, who died on the job last year, and a print from his painting of a skeleton police officer. His works are similar to the artistic works of military veterans, which give a raw perspective on war and the issues surrounding it. But it's his artistic approach that makes his work provocative.
This is a guy I see every day. He's at like Magnolia and Clio every day.
The faces on these crumpled cardboards are those of some of the city's homeless. He paid the beggars $5 and $10 for each of their panhandling signs. He then painted them with the face of the panhandlers and presented the pieces last year in a local art show. He also donated some of the proceeds to services for the homeless.
If people looked at that show and they saw all these faces staring back at them of homeless people all across our city, and that changed something within them, maybe they got a little bit more compassion, maybe the volume of work spoke to them, then I would say that began to change people And that was more my intent.
For this NOPD detective, it's part of his dual crime-fighting role. Except away from work, he hopes, with each brushstroke, he can ignite change through his art and help stimulate solutions to problems plaguing New Orleans. Liz Reyes, Fox 8 News.